today I'm going to talk about a little project that we worked on with one of my colleagues, Jesse Barber at Boise State University. And this is a picture of Jesse. He is a bat ecologist, and I do phylogenomics work on insects. And we work together to do bat-moth interaction work in an evolutionary context. So when you think about insects, there's hundreds and thousands of species that dominate the terrestrial landscape. But one of the things that we don't really understand very well are how insects behave, especially at night. One of the primary food sources for bats at night are moths. So if you tied a moth to a tree, for example, and hung it on from a string, you'd probably get a bat that comes up right up to it and eats it. And that's kind of just a picture of that right here, where you have a moth that's tied to a string that gets eaten by a bat. But in reality, that's not what's actually happening, right? In reality, there's no moths that are tied to trees or anything like that. They're flying around naturally, and there's moths, and bats are also flying around naturally as well. So in this video, you'll see these dots move. Whoops, sorry. Dots moving around. So that's a bat right there, and there's a little dot in front of it, which is a moth. So throughout this, it's about a 12-second video here, but you see these bats flying around, and there's this one moth that's just kind of being chased by this particular bat that is able to escape this predator-prey interaction. This is a film that was taken in the Arizona desert, so you see the amount of predator pressure that's being put on these insects. These moths have to fly through this incredibly difficult landscape of all these predators and somehow make it to their mate or their food plant or food sources. So how do moths actually make it through this? So what moths have they have an ear, or many of them have ears. So this is just a picture of a moth that's been descaled. On the side of the thorax, they have this little hole that looks like this. And this is an actual invagination of the cuticle, and there's a receptor inside, an auditory receptor that allows them to hear echolocating bat calls. And here's an actual real moth with a little hole on the side of the body. About 50,000 species of moths have ears, so a lot of them have ears in the diversity of moths, which are about 150,000 total. So a lot of them have ears, and these ears have evolved all over the body, on the thorax, on the abdomen, all kinds of different places, independent. It's very interesting. I think that's happened in moths. One of the groups that's very, for me, really interesting are the tiger moths. Tiger moths are really great, and they not only have ears, but they are chemically defective. So they have colors that warn their visual predators that they're chemically defective, right? However, another thing that's very interesting about tiger moths is that they have the ability to make sounds back at bats. So they have these timbal organs on the side of the body that are sort of these cuticular structures that stick out of the body, and they make noise. So this is how it actually works. So this is the cuticle that sticks out, and it clicks, pushes in and outwards, and that's the way they make the noise. And this is called, so why do they make noise? So they make noise because they warn their predators of their chemical defenses. So this is called acoustic aposematism, right? It's sort of similar to the visual system, for example, in monarch butterflies and visual predators like birds, where they use a warning coloration to warn them of their chemical defense. But in this case, this happens at night, so colors can't be used, so they use sounds. So in acoustic aposematism, what happens is a chemically defended moth produces a sound at a bat and warns the bat that there's chemical defense. So the bat recognizes the sounds from a previous encounter it had and learned that it's not good to eat. So whenever they hear that sound, they avoid that prey. So what's interesting is some groups, such as in the tiger moths, actually have evolved or have lost their chemical defenses. So there's some species that are still sound producers, but they don't have any chemical defenses. And there's some interesting acoustic mimicry going on within the clades and also across different families of moths as well. So another family that produces, that has ears and also produces ultrasound is hawkmoths. So hawkmoths are oftentimes you see hawkmoths during the day. They cover flowers and stuff like this. They're called hummingbird moths. But many of them are nocturnal. And the way they hear is they've evolved ears on their mouth parts. So unlike the thorax or on the abdomen, they have ears on their mouth parts. And these, what's going on here is these are palps that are on the front of the head. So you're looking at the front of the head here. And inside the palp how there's a large air sac, and this air sac can resonate and sort of feel the vibrations of these of the echolocating backballs. And there's also a structure called a pilifer, which touches this this palp. So if you remove the palps from a hawkmoth, they become deaf and they can't hear anything. How do they make sounds? Well, hawkmoths produce sounds by using their genitals. So they zap bats using their genitalia. So we published a paper a couple of years ago, and also more recently. And this is what you're looking at here is the abdomen, the tip of an abdomen of a hawkmoth, so the head would be down here. And this is the genitalia. So the way it works is the hawkmoth moves its genitals back and forth and produces stridulatory sounds out its butt, and that's captured by the pressures. So why do they actually do this? So here's a video of an experiment we did in the lab. This is a bat here, and what you'll see is this is in slow motion. The bat's coming up, and there's a little hawkmoth here tethered to a string. So this is a sound-producing hawkmoth, and you'll see the bat come up, and this is the acoustic profile. This is the bat call, and suddenly from the right here, you see a very, very loud noise being produced by the moth. And if you watch what's actually happening here, the bat does this complete airball. It flies, kind of spins around the moth a couple times, and flies away. We did a whole bunch of experiments to study this, and it's very clear that this species and several other species do this very, very consistently, and that bats just cannot capture them. So this is an example of jamming in hawkmoths, and it's actually evolved multiple times. So I've talked about several ways that moths have evolved their ability to protect themselves from bats, such as the presence of ears, ability to fly faster or drop out of the sky, like the video that I showed of the Arizona desert. They also have, some of the moths have chemical defenses that they warn predators. And then here, a case of jamming. But what about the other moths? I said that there's about 100,000 species that actually don't have those types of ears, right? So if you go to a museum and you pull out an insect drawer of moths, you see all kinds of stuff like this. Lots of different colors, lots of different shapes and sizes. But a lot of these things don't have ears. But they fly at night. So how do they actually make it throughout the night sky? So if you think about hawkmoths, this is the group I was just talking about. It's about 1,500 species. They have the ears and general structures and stuff like that. Their sister group is really interesting. These guys are the silk moths, the wild silk moths. They have nothing. They don't have any ears. They don't have any genital zapping structures or anything like that. They don't have mouth parts. They're literally just like flying sausages. They have nothing. They fly around at night and they don't have anything. So what do they actually have? They must have ways in which they protect themselves. And one of the things that's been really interesting to me is that many of them have tails. So these structures that are coming off the back of the hind wing that look like this. And I grew up in Japan, and when I was growing up as a child, one of the things that, as an entomologist, I was very interested in collecting these things. And I'd collect them, and I'd make little insect collections like many Japanese kids do. And one of the things that I noticed when I was growing up is that these tails are always twisted, and they're really hard to sort of spread on a mounting board. When you look at a butterfly, it's totally different. They have flat tails. They're not twisted, they're just simply flat. So why are butterfly tails flat, and why are they twisted in moths? It's something that everybody is interested in. So we have to understand the function of tails in butterflies. In butterflies, like this one here, it's a lycemic butterfly. This is the head, the real head of the butterfly, and then there are these tails that come out of the same part of the hind wing. And what the tails do is it creates an illusion, basically a false head. It's called the false head hypothesis. We have these multiple sort of legs coming off, right? The middle leg and the foreleg and the two antennae and the eye right there. So this is the head of the butterfly. And visual predators such as spiders, lizards, birds and stuff, they always attack this portion of the butterfly, and the butterfly escapes. So that's the way that one of the reasons that butterflies have these tails. So what about moths? The moths, like I said, they have these twisted tails. A lot of them are very long. They don't fly during the day. So what is their, why do they have these structures? So when we were doing those acoustic experiments that I talked about earlier with the hawkmoths, we did some of those experiments in Borneo. And we go out in the field and we collect these moths and we would zap them and test them, how they're making acoustic sounds. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, we were pretty tired and waiting at the light sheet, and one of these moths came in. Beautiful moths, and we thought, oh, this is really awesome. Maybe we should look at this guy and see actually how they fly and see what the tails do when they fly. So we had a little simple rig in the field. This is a different species, but what we did was we tethered the moth and we watched how the tail moved. So you can just see here, you can see how the tail kind of flops up and down. And what was really interesting is when we did this, we looked at it not only from the side, but from the back. When you look at the moth from the back, what's interesting is that the tails actually spin in circles. So they spin in a three-dimensional way that you can't tell from looking at it from the side. So then the question became, why do they spin their tails? Does that have something to do with the fact that tails are twisted? And so what we wanted to know then was, well, how do bats perceive these tails when they're flying? So what we did was we built a three-dimensional array of ultrasound speakers and microphones to see how the moth is perceived in 3 dimensions as it's flying. So if you look here, this is it's a bit hard to tell, but this is, imagine the axis of the body of the moth here. This is the forewing, the middle, and the tail. And as the moth is flying, we kind of watched how this moved. Okay, well, I can it. Sorry. Well, sorry, it's not working, but you could, this part of the tail, this part of the wing is actually very enhanced, so you have these 3 parts that are very high in terms of the echolocation calls that bounce off. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is the moth flying from the perspective of echolocation bounce back off of the moth that's moving. And you see kind of the front here. There's a middle area here that's always hot, and there's a back portion that's also hot. That's the tail. So then we thought, okay, so if this part is perceived as being with lots of echolocation bouncing off, could this be actually functioning to deter the bat from attacking the main portion of the body? Could bats, when they get close, are they steering away and moving and attacking this portion of the body as opposed to this part? And so in order to do this, in order to understand this, we needed to do an experiment where we pitted moths with tails and moths without tails and just looked at simply looked at their capture rates. We also wanted to look at it in an evolutionary sense to see if tails had evolved to become longer over time. And you'd expect longer tails to be more derived and shorter tails to be more ancestral if there's stronger selection towards longer tails further away from the body. So that's what we did. So the first part of the experiment was to do the behavioral test where we pitted these moths with tails to bats. We used the big brown bat. So the moth escapes. There's another moth, both tails intact. Bat tries to catch it, doesn't succeed, rips off the tail, and it flies away. So we did this statistically with 100 different moth interactions, bat-moth interactions. And so this is what you see. Intact Actius luna, this is the luna moth, intact with wings, has about 30% capture rate. And then ablated, so this is removed. So we beforehand we cut the tails off and then we flew them with the bats, and there's about an 80% capture rate. So survival for moths without tails is considerably higher than moths with tails. And we did this with, not survival, capture rate is a lot higher if you don't have tails. So tails are a way to protect themselves from bats. And we also did this with another moth, a different species of moth that doesn't have tails to begin with. So then we wanted to look at the evolution of tails in this group. Was there a trend from shorter tails to longer tails across the group? So we built a molecular phylogeny, and this we see that there's clearly four different independent origins of tails. So this is the tail group. These are the tail groups here in totally unrelated subfamilies. And there's a trend from shorter tails to longer tails in those groups that we had in the samples of. So this also provided additional evidence that it looks like that there's selection towards longer tails in this group. So with that, I just want to say that, I've really kind of just briefed on what we found from the study. If you want to find more information, it's all in this paper. And I want to just thank the folks in my lab and the students and staff and everybody who helped out to make this project possible. That's it.